when you saw them lose to Saudi Arabia, you actually thought that, this is going to be over. This is going to be a bad World Cup for Argentina. And personally, Messi is going to go back home ever without, a World Cup in his hands. So I think stars are shining on him. Look at the penalties he gets. He's already scored from 5. And look at Argentina's way all the way down to the final. So both ways, without him, Argentina can't function. And without the stars shining on Messi, those penalties are now going to be coming his way. So all of that has a stroke of luck, but at the same time, it also has a stroke of so much of determination from a team that was really down in the dumps to come back and power themselves into a final. For Argentina, for South America, if you really look at a continent where Brazil has gone out, now everything is on Argentina in that sense. But for Messi, this is probably the biggest stage where he needs to conquer. This is one title that he doesn't have. And somebody else called Diego Maradona from Argentina, probably, now this is going to be massively debatable. A lot of people have their opinions and arguments about this. For me, Maradona is the greatest footballer. I normally do rate him above Pele also because of the way Maradona was. But let's not get into that debate right now. Messi also needs to pick up a World Cup because, it's not that it's his right, but he's done enough in his footballing career as a club player and elsewhere for the kind of person he is and the kind of footballer he is and the kind of skills he has to actually lift a World Cup. So stars are there for him and he is the shining star for Argentina. I think you have to look at it slightly differently. You have Croatia, which was, it's very difficult to call it an aging team because any team that goes into a semi-final is certainly not aging. It is massively determined to make its way there, to be able to pick up. For Luka Modric, you have to feel. Second World Cup, was thinking of getting into another final, was again thinking probably this is my chance, of winning a World Cup. And then coming from a country which is 3.94 million people, to have 2 consecutive semi-finals is a huge achievement for a nation. But look at the way Messi revolved the game. There was injury issues, during the match and before the game also for Messi. But whenever he had the ball, you had an expectation, you had a hope. And that dream that Argentina has revolves around his feet. That goal that he created is something that you can only probably go back and probably feel that maybe Zidane could have created. And go back to 70s where you probably thought a Brazilian called Garrincha could have created that for Pele. A lot of people said Pele's crosses, Garrincha's crosses and Pele's shots entered goal. And I think here Messi became the controller, Messi became the maestro, Messi became the conductor who created all of that for these 2 youngsters in the Argentinian team to be able to score those goals. So at this moment, if Argentina needs to move, it needs to revolve, it needs to have his wheels rotating constantly, Messi has to be in the thick of things. No, not in the cult of Maradona, no. Take it personally, take it any other way. Pele was the football was in the 70s and later 60s was very different. Pele rose from there, becoming the greatest ever. We all kind of think that way. But there is a huge difference between Messi and Maradona. Maradona was this hugely talented footballer, who created an entire World Cup on his own skills in '86, getting this hand of God, all of those controversies with those brilliant goals that followed against England and then playing a final against Germany, and winning 3-2, Burushaga, Valdano, all those guys were in the team. But more than that, Maradona also took his trade, plied his tools, plied his everything in Napoli, a team that was nowhere in the Italian league at that time, and took them straight to champions. I think somewhere this romanticism of Diego Maradona, this drug overdoses, this women in his life, all of that probably added this whole halo, this whole romanticist tinge around Maradona that's going to stay for a long time. Messi is your nice boy. Messi is your man who will never do anything wrong. Messi is not the guy who's going to kick a player, not that Diego's kicked, but of course there are a lot of videos out there in fights and all where Maradona is right in the middle. So Messi is your good boy. Messi is a boy who constantly remained with Barcelona and then finally made a move to PSG. And now when we talk about retirements and all, I think he's probably going to be playing in the American League. That's what the reports are. So this retirement of Messi is definitely sad. It's like the end, not of an era, but of a player who has gold written all over his boots. It's about a player who can conjure up goals just with a flick of a switch. That's what Messi is. Messi doesn't need to really work hard because he's so supremely talented. And I think probably Argentines will have a huge task if he wins the World Cup to place him alongside Maradona. But today you walk into the city of Naples and you ask, who is God, Messi or Maradona? And I think the overwhelming answer will be Maradona. I think it's debatable for people who watching it, not the referee, because it's a split second thing. It was not something that the striker had revolved or gone past the goalkeeper and the goalkeeper then goes back and hacks him down. It happened in virtually fractions of a second. On the looks of it, by just plain looking at television, going through reruns, I think it was a little harsh. And when that harshness comes down to one particular team, who's also virtually 50-50 in terms of rhythm and momentum, I think that's where, the brakes were applied for Croatia. You go one up in such an important game, a semi-final game, you go one up against a team that has Modric and Brozovic and other guys, who probably are still thinking, how did they lose a final 4 years back? I think this momentum took a step back for Croatia at that point of time. But credit to Argentina that they didn't step back or they didn't hold themselves back. They still went ahead. They still created more. And Scaloni, you got to give the coach a credit that he probably put in the right players at the right time. He put youth in. And I think that's where Argentina scored. They had younger legs who could run faster, who could go around, who could still understand that what Messi is about to do and still bang in that third goal. I think a lot of credit also needs to go to Argentina. Alongside that, of course, a harsh decision. But some decisions are harsh and teams need to rise above it. I think Argentina rose above it. I'm a little surprised that he said it before, or maybe under pressure from federation, from family, from friends. You normally do that. Usually what happens is that you look at a result, you win a World Cup and then you say, okay, I'm retired from this World Cup now, or I'm not going to play internationally. But now the pressure is on him. There are a lot of reports that will come. A lot of people are going to be preparing, lovely little articles that, after he retires from the World Cup. But wait, he still has to win one. So I think this retirement thing is probably going to be a little more of a pressure that now that I've announced it, I have to win it. And if he does that, then you can call it the perfect timing. That's what it is. I think there is a lot of truth to that. I have played for fans. Eventually, every player does that. He plays for those 50,000, 100,000, millions are watching on television. And at the end of it, you have one Messi. You don't have 10 or 20s or 30s Messis all rolling all over the world playing football. You have one big guy called Lionel Messi. And I think that probably hits him too, probably harder. Sometimes it's easy to sit and pontificate and say that, why does he announce this and why does he announce that? At the end of the day, I think he strongly feels that this is probably the end of a player for Argentina for me. I mean, maybe playing for the club. So I think this is probably the perfect stage. You enter a World Cup final and you say, this is going to be my last World Cup final. I think probably in a way, perfect timing, perfect stage. And if he holds the World Cup, that picture is going to be timeless.